Somewhere tonight, in the long grass of an African savanna, a lioness lifts her head to listen, her amber eyes catching the last light of the moon, while in a snow-laden Himalayan ridge, a leopard moves through the cold without making a sound. They have walked the quiet edges of the world long before us, and they walk them still. This is Sleepy Science, Soft and Slow, a sleep documentary made to help you fall asleep fast as the night carries you toward gentle dreams. Tonight, in this documentary for sleep, we wander through the silent kingdoms of the great cats, from the burning grasslands of Africa to the snowbound forests of Siberia. From the dripping rainforests of the Amazon to the high stone ridges where the snow leopard lives like a ghost. These are facts to fall asleep to, where every paw print becomes a lullaby and every breath of these wild creatures becomes part of your own. Welcome to Drowsy Discovery. Over the next 2 hours, over 100 gentle facts will move through your mind like the slow, padded steps of a great cat through tall grass. There is nothing to memorize, nothing to remember. Just listen and let your mind drift across continents and centuries into the quiet company of creatures who have always known how to rest. Have you ever watched a cat at home stretch in a patch of sunlight and wondered what dreams pass through its mind, or how much of that ancient wildness still lives inside it? You are not alone. If these gentle science for sleep facts bring you peace, consider following along to join our community of curious sleepers, one peaceful night at a time. Let your eyes grow soft, let your shoulders settle, and let your breath slow until it matches the slow rise and fall of a sleeping leopard on a warm stone ledge. The world is wide, and tonight you have nothing to chase, nothing to escape. Only listen. Let us begin. There are only 7 true big cats in the entire world. Out of the more than 30 species of wild cats walking the earth tonight, only 7 are usually counted as the true big cats: the lion, the tiger, the leopard, the jaguar, the snow leopard, the cheetah, and the puma. Some experts include the cheetah and the puma in this small circle, while others place them just outside it, but together these creatures form the great cats of our world. They live on 5 continents, in deserts and snowfields, in jungles and on grasslands, and in every one of those landscapes they have learned to move with the same quiet patience. Each one is the slow, careful work of millions of years of evolution, shaped by the land, the prey, the weather, and the long, patient pressure of time. To know them, even a little, is to feel how vast and varied life on this single planet truly is, and how much quiet beauty still walks the wilder edges of the world tonight. The word big cat is not just about size, it is about a single bone in the throat. Scientists draw the line between great cats and small cats in a curious place, deep in the throat, at a small bone called the hyoid. In the 4 largest great cats, the lion, the tiger, the leopard, and the jaguar, this bone is partly soft and flexible, and that softness is what allows them to roar with the long, rolling thunder we know from films and dreams. In smaller cats, the same bone is fully hardened, which is why they can purr steadily but cannot truly roar. The cheetah, puma, and snow leopard sit somewhere in between, great in size and spirit but unable to make that deep, chest-shaking sound. So the difference between a roar and a purr is not strength, but a small piece of bone, soft enough to vibrate with sound. It is a quiet reminder that nature often keeps her largest secrets in the smallest places, hidden inside the throats of creatures who walk the long grass. Lions are the only truly social cats on Earth. Almost every cat on Earth lives a quiet, solitary life, hunting alone, sleeping alone, raising young alone. The lion is the gentle exception. Lions live in groups called prides, usually made up of related females, their cubs, and 1 or 2 adult males who guard the family. The lionesses are often sisters, aunts, mothers, and daughters who have known each other their whole lives, and they hunt together, raise their young together, and sleep curled up against one another in the long grass. There is something deeply human about a pride at rest, the soft tangle of paws and tails, the slow breathing of cubs against the warm sides of their mothers, the easy murmur of low rumbles passing between bodies that trust each other completely. In the wide open spaces of the savanna, the lion has learned what every tired soul eventually learns, that life is easier and far gentler when it is shared. A lion's roar can be heard from over 5 miles away. On a still night on the African savanna, the roar of a single lion can travel more than 5 miles across the open land, reaching the ears of other lions, of grazing herds, of every small creature in the grass, and of any human who happens to be sleeping nearby beneath an open sky. The sound is built deep in the chest and shaped by a long, soft section of cartilage in the throat, which lets the lion produce notes far lower than its body should normally allow. Those low notes carry through the night air with very little loss, sliding over hills and through trees as easily as wind moves over still water, settling at last in the listening ear of another lion many valleys away. To hear it from a distance is to feel the ground itself listening, the warm air seeming to pause for a long, slow moment, the small night insects falling briefly silent. It is one of the oldest sounds the savanna has ever known, and one of the most patient. The dark mane of a male lion is a quiet message written in hormones. The color and fullness of a male lion's mane are not just decoration, they are a slow, living signal of his health, his age, and the warmth of the climate he calls home. Males with darker, thicker manes tend to carry higher levels of certain hormones and have generally survived more challenges in their lives. So other lions read those dark waves of fur the way we might read a quiet face, learning the long story of an animal in a single look. In cooler regions, manes grow longer and richer, while in the hottest deserts, some males barely grow a mane at all, because heavy fur in such heat would be a burden on a body that already works hard to stay cool. Lionesses often choose mates with darker manes, sensing strength and steadiness in that warm, sun-bleached color. The lion wears his story openly, written in the slow, sun-bleached grain of his own coat. Lionesses do almost all of the hunting for the pride. In a typical lion pride, it is the lionesses who quietly carry the work of feeding everyone. They are smaller, faster, and far more agile than the males, and their tawny coats blend into dry grass so completely that prey often does not see them until it is far too late. Until the long grass itself seems to lift gently into a single, golden shape. They hunt in coordinated groups, with some lionesses circling wide to drive the herd, while others wait patiently in the long grass to make the final move, and the whole hunt unfolds with almost no sound at all. Only soft signals between sisters who have done this together 1,000 times. Each hunt is a slow, careful piece of teamwork, more about patience than speed, more about silence than strength. When the meal is ready, the males and the cubs come to share. But the deeper rhythm of the pride lives in the soft, padded steps of the lionesses moving through the dusk. Lions sleep for up to 20 hours every day. If you have ever watched a documentary for sleep and seen a pride of lions stretched out in the shade of a flat-topped tree, you have seen one of the laziest-looking creatures on the planet quietly being a master of rest. Lions can sleep for as much as 20 hours a day, especially after a heavy meal or in the hottest part of the afternoon, when the savanna falls into a long, drowsy hush and even the wind seems to slow down. They sprawl on their sides, drape themselves over rocks, rest their heavy heads on each other's bellies, and barely twitch as the day moves around them, while bees hum past and the warm earth holds them like a wide, patient bed. This deep, easy rest is part of how they survive, conserving energy in the hot grasslands where every burst of activity costs a great deal. To watch a sleeping lion is to remember that doing nothing, slowly and well, is also a kind of strength. A small population of lions still lives in the forests of India. When most people picture a lion, They picture the wide golden plains of Africa, but a small and precious population of lions still walks beneath the dry teak trees of western India, in a forest called the Gir. These are Asiatic lions, slightly smaller than their African cousins, with a fold of skin running along their belly and a slightly thinner mane that lets the shape of their ears and eyes show more clearly in the warm afternoon light. They once roamed all the way from Greece through the Middle East and into India, but today only a few hundred remain in the wild, all of them sharing this single quiet forest. Patient conservation work over many decades has slowly brought their numbers back from the very edge of disappearing, helped by villagers who have learned to share the land with them. They walk a soft line between the old wild past and the changing world we share with them. And from the golden plains where lions doze beneath flat-topped trees, our path turns east into the deep cold forests where the largest of all great cats moves alone. The tiger is the largest cat that has ever lived on land. The tiger holds a record that no other living cat can claim. The Siberian tiger, the largest of the tiger family, can weigh more than 600 pounds and stretch over 10 feet from nose to tail tip, making it the largest wild cat species ever recorded, larger even than the great cave lions whose bones rest in museums today. To stand in the presence of a tiger, even at a quiet distance, is to feel the weight of every muscle, every long stripe, every steady breath, the warm air around the animal somehow becoming heavier and slower. They move with a slow, deliberate grace that does not match their size, paws as wide as a human face placed softly on the snow or the forest floor, leaving a single, soft impression at a time. They are not loud creatures, despite their power. They are mostly quiet, mostly still, and mostly alone, walking through their forests with the calm certainty of an animal that has nothing in this world to fear. No two tigers wear the same pattern of stripes. Every tiger walking the earth tonight wears a coat that belongs only to itself. The dark stripes painted across that warm orange fur form a pattern as unique as a human fingerprint, no two ever the same, no two ever repeated in all the long history of tigers. Researchers who study tigers from a distance learn to recognize individuals by these patterns, especially the bold marks across the face and shoulders. And many big cats are followed for years through camera traps and quiet observation in this gentle way, watched without ever being touched. The stripes themselves help break up the tiger's outline in tall grass and dappled forest light, so what looks bold and bright in a zoo becomes nearly invisible in the wild, dissolving into the slow shifting of leaves and shadow. Each tiger is, in a way, the only one of its kind, a single soft signature moving through the trees, written once and never copied again. A tiger's stripes are also drawn on its skin, not only on its fur. If a tiger were ever shaved, the dark stripes would still be there, marked into the skin itself, exactly matching the pattern of the fur above. The pigment cells that paint each stripe are set into the deeper layers of the skin long before the cub is born, so that fur and skin grow together as one continuous design. This is unusual in the animal world, where most patterned coats stop with the fur, but in the tiger the stripes go all the way down, woven into the body itself. There is something quietly poetic about this. The idea that an animal carries its disguise not as a coat that could be taken off, but as part of its own self, written into the skin the way memories are written into a life. The tiger does not wear its pattern. The tiger is its pattern all the way through, from the soft outer fur to the warm skin beneath, a single design held by every cell of the body. Tigers are powerful swimmers and often rest in cool rivers. Unlike most cats, who keep a careful distance from anything wet, tigers love water and are some of the strongest swimmers in the cat family. In the warm forests of India and Bangladesh, where the air can grow heavy and still in the long afternoons, tigers slip into rivers and shallow pools to cool down, paddling slowly with their broad heads above the water and only the tip of the tail showing behind them. They have been known to swim across wide rivers and even between small islands, covering several miles in a single quiet crossing, sometimes following the scent of prey through the warm, dark water. To watch a tiger in water is to see the whole shape of the animal change, the heavy body becoming weightless, the great striped face floating like a soft, drifting mask. Even a creature built for the forest knows the deep, simple comfort of cool water on warm skin. The Siberian tiger walks through snow as deep as a child is tall. Far from the warm jungles where most tigers live, the Siberian tiger has made its home in the cold, pine-covered mountains of the Russian Far East, where winter can pile snow as deep as a small child is tall, and the trees groan softly in the long, dark nights. To survive there, this great cat has grown a thicker coat, paler and warmer than its southern cousins, with a soft layer of insulating fat beneath the fur. Its paws are wide and round, almost like quiet snowshoes, spreading the tiger's weight across the surface so it can walk for miles through fresh powder without sinking. The breath of a Siberian tiger in deep winter rises in a slow white cloud, and its long tail sometimes leaves a soft, sweeping line in the snow behind it, the only sign that something so large has ever passed through. In the silence of those frozen forests, the tiger moves like a slow orange flame in a world of white. A tiger's territory can stretch across hundreds of square miles. A single male tiger may walk a territory that stretches across hundreds of square miles of forest and mountain, an area larger than many small cities. He patrols this land alone, leaving soft scent marks on tree trunks, scratching long parallel lines into bark with his claws, and pressing his great paws into wet earth at the edges of streams to leave quiet messages for any other tiger who might pass through. Females have smaller ranges, but their territories often overlap with his, like quiet circles drawn within a larger one, allowing the tigers to find one another only when they need to. To be a tiger is to know the shape of an enormous home by heart, every fallen log and clearing remembered, every smell read like a long letter. Tigers do not own their land in the way humans do. They simply walk it, again and again, until the forest itself seems to know their step. Tigers communicate with low rumbles too deep for human ears to hear. Tigers carry on long, slow conversations across the forest in a language we cannot fully hear. Beneath their audible roars and growls, tigers also produce a kind of deep infrasound, very low rumbles below the threshold of human hearing, that travel for miles through dense trees and undergrowth, slipping past the leaves where higher sounds would be lost. Other tigers feel these vibrations as much as they hear them, sensing them in the chest and bones rather than only in the ears. It means that even when the forest seems silent to us, two tigers many miles apart may already be quietly aware of each other, exchanging slow, steady messages we will never hear. And so the night holds far more conversation than our own ears can catch. To stand in a tiger's forest is to stand inside a conversation older than any human language, written in vibrations that move through air and earth, only half meant for us at all. And as you rest with these thoughts, let them move through you like a slow current of warm air. There is no need to follow them, no need to hold onto any single one. Take a soft breath, let your shoulders drop a little further, and let this sleepy science journey carry you a little deeper into the quiet. White tigers are not a separate species, only a rare color. The pale ice-colored tigers sometimes seen in zoos are not a different species, nor a different subspecies, only the result of a rare gene that softens the orange of the coat into a creamy white. Both parents must carry this gene for a white cub to be born, which is why the color is so unusual in the wild and almost never seen there in modern times. Most living white tigers today come from a small number of captive ancestors, which is why so many of them carry the same set of recessive traits and often inherit certain health problems. They are not magical or sacred in any biological sense, only a quiet variation in the long story of the Bengal tiger. There is a soft lesson in this, that what feels rare and precious is often only the same familiar life, dressed for a moment in a slightly different light. The way an old story can sound brand new when told in a quieter voice. The roar of a tiger can shake the air inside a human chest. The roar of a tiger is one of the most physical sounds in the natural world. Up close, the lowest notes of that roar are so deep that they do not only enter through the ears, they pass straight through the chest of any nearby animal, including a human being. People who have stood near roaring tigers in sanctuaries describe a strange feeling of the sound moving through them, vibrating in the ribs and the breastbone, the way the bass note of a great organ might. This is part of how the tiger commands its world. Other animals do not just hear the warning, they feel it in their bodies, a deep instinctive message that something very powerful is nearby, a feeling older than thought itself. And yet, in the quiet hours of the night, the same tiger will rest like any cat, a slow breath rising and falling beneath that enormous, sleeping voice, the great chest moving as softly as the chest of a kitten curled by a warm fire. Tigers once roamed from Turkey all the way to the eastern shores of Russia. In a time not so very long ago, tigers walked across an enormous stretch of the earth, from the warm hills of what is now Turkey, through Iran and Central Asia, across India and Southeast Asia, and all the way to the cold forests on the eastern shores of Russia. 3 of those great regional tigers, the Caspian, the Javan, and the Bali tiger, have already faded from the world, leaving only photographs, old skins in museums, and the soft echo of their names. Today, wild tigers live in only a small handful of countries, in pockets of forest separated by farmland, roads, and cities, scattered like quiet islands across the wide map of the world. Yet within those forests, they still walk, still hunt, still raise their young. The map of the tiger has grown smaller with time, but every paw print left in the wild today is still part of that long, ancient line. The Bengal tiger is the most numerous wild tiger left on Earth. Of all the tigers walking the wild earth tonight, most belong to a single subspecies, the Bengal tiger of the Indian subcontinent. They live in the warm forests of India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, padding through tall grasses and dripping mangrove swamps where freshwater rivers meet the sea, where the air smells of wet bark and warm earth. Their numbers are still very small compared to what they once were, but careful conservation work, the patient mapping of national parks, and the long, slow effort of villagers who share the land with them have all helped Bengal tiger numbers rise gently in recent years. A small, hopeful trend in a difficult story. To know that a wild tiger is asleep tonight in a sun-warmed patch of grass somewhere in India is, for many of us, a soothing thought. Some part of the night is still being kept by the great striped guardian of the forest. And from the striped giants of the Asian forests, we move now to a smaller, quieter cat that has mastered the art of disappearing in plain sight. Leopards are perhaps the most adaptable big cats of all. Of all the great cats on Earth, the leopard is perhaps the most quietly clever survivor. While lions need open plains, tigers need deep forests, and snow leopards need high, cold mountains, the leopard seems to live almost everywhere it tries. Leopards walk the tropical rainforests of Africa, the dry savannas, the rocky deserts of the Middle East, the warm jungles of India, and even the cold pine slopes of the Russian Far East, where one rare population shares its forest with the Siberian tiger. They eat almost anything they can catch, sleep wherever the day finds them, and slip between human towns and wild lands with such soft footsteps that many of us never know they are nearby, even when they pass within a stone's throw of our gardens at night. In a sleep documentary like this one, the leopard is the gentle reminder that adaptability, more than strength, is often the deepest form of power. A leopard can carry prey twice its own weight up into a tree. One of the most extraordinary things about a leopard is its quiet strength. After a successful hunt on the savanna, a leopard will often grip its prey in its powerful jaws and slowly climb the rough trunk of a tall tree, carrying an animal that may weigh twice as much as the leopard itself, up into the safety of the high branches. From there, lions and hyenas cannot reach, and the leopard can rest for many days, eating slowly while the world below moves on without it. Climbing with that much weight is an enormous effort, and the leopard's broad shoulders and muscular forelimbs are shaped, in part, for exactly this. To see a leopard draped over a wide branch in the late afternoon, with its meal tucked safely against its body and the soft wind moving the leaves around it, is to see a creature that has solved the problem of safety with patience, with strength, and with the slow wisdom of going up. The rosette spots of a leopard are not random patterns. The dark, broken rings on a leopard's coat are called rosettes, and like everything about this cat, they are quietly purposeful. Each rosette is shaped a little like a small flower, with an open center and dark edges, and together they form a soft pattern that breaks up the leopard's outline against the dappled light of leaves and grass. Even when a leopard sits perfectly still in clear view, the rosettes scatter the eye, so that prey often see only patches of light and shadow rather than the long, watchful shape of the cat itself. The way a tree at dusk can hide a whole shape inside a play of branches. Like tigers, every leopard wears a coat that belongs only to itself, and researchers can tell individuals apart by the small shapes of their rosettes. The leopard does not really hide. It simply lets the forest, with its endless play of light, do most of the hiding for it. Black panthers are simply leopards or jaguars in dark coats. The mysterious black panther of films and folklore is not really a separate species at all. It is simply a leopard or a jaguar whose coat carries a much higher amount of dark pigment than usual, a trait scientists call melanism. In strong sunlight, you can often still see the faint outline of rosettes within the dark fur, like a quiet ghost of the cat's normal pattern. Black panthers are most often found in dense forests where dark coats blend more easily into the deep shadows beneath the canopy, especially in parts of Southeast Asia and Central and South America. They live the same lives as their lighter cousins, hunt the same prey, raise the same cubs. The mystery of the black panther, in the end, is not a different animal, but the same animal seen through a darker, softer light. The way the moon can change a familiar garden into something strange and wonderful at night. Leopards live in more places on Earth than any other big cat. The leopard holds a quiet record among the great cats, the widest natural range of any of them. Wild leopards still walk through parts of Africa, the Middle East, the Caucasus, India, China, the Korean Peninsula, and the cold forests of the Russian Far East, crossing through every kind of landscape from rainforest to desert to alpine pine. To survive in such different worlds, leopards have learned to vary their diet, their hunting habits, and even the size of their bodies, with desert leopards growing leaner and forest leopards growing heavier and more powerful. They are perhaps the most successful great cat in the long, slow story of survival, the quietest winners of a long, patient game. And yet, despite this wide reach, leopards in many regions are quietly disappearing as the wild lands they need are slowly broken into smaller and smaller pieces by the changes humans make. The Arabian leopard survives in some of the harshest deserts on Earth. Hidden in the Rocky Mountains and dry valleys of the Arabian Peninsula lives one of the rarest big cats on Earth, the Arabian leopard. It is smaller and paler than its African cousins, with a coat the color of sand and stone, perfectly suited to its quiet, sun-baked home where every shadow has the same warm, dusty color. There are now only a few hundred Arabian leopards left in the wild, scattered across remote highlands in Oman, Yemen, and parts of Saudi Arabia, where they walk by night and rest in deep shaded caves by day, listening to the slow drip of distant springs. Like all leopards, they are skilled climbers, slipping silently along narrow rock ledges where almost no one will ever see them. They are some of the quietest survivors of a vanishing wildness, the soft, golden ghosts of an old desert world that still moves just out of sight beneath the long Arabian stars. Leopards are nearly silent walkers, even on dry leaves. If you have ever tried to walk through a dry forest in autumn without making a sound, you know how difficult silence can be. The leopard, however, has been quietly perfecting that art for millions of years. Soft pads cover the underside of each paw, with thick fur often growing between them, and the leopard places its weight so carefully that even dry leaves and small twigs barely whisper beneath it. As it walks, the back paws often land in exactly the same place where the front paws have already pressed, leaving only a single line of soft prints behind, as though only one cat had passed instead of all 4 feet at once. This is part of why leopards are so rarely seen in the wild, even in regions where they are quite common. They are simply already gone by the time we look. The leopard does not chase silence, the way we do at the end of a busy day. The leopard already lives inside it. And from the dappled shadows of the leopard's tree, our quiet journey crosses an ocean to the dense green rainforests of South America. The jaguar is the largest cat in the Americas. Of all the wild cats walking the forests, mountains, and grasslands of the Americas, the jaguar is the largest and the most powerful. It lives mostly in the warm, green countries of Central and South America, especially in the wide rainforests of the Amazon basin and the seasonally flooded grasslands of the Pantanal. A large male jaguar can weigh more than 250 pounds, with a heavy, compact body, a deep chest, and a broad head that gives it a quietly serious look. Compared to leopards, jaguars are stockier, more muscular, and built for power rather than speed, with shorter legs and an unmistakable strength in every soft, padded step. They walk slowly through their dripping forests, splash through shallow rivers, and climb great trees when the mood takes them. Tonight, somewhere in the warm, dark green of the Amazon, a jaguar is breathing softly in the long, patient quiet of its rainforest home. Jaguars have the strongest bite of any big cat in the world. Pound for pound, the jaguar has the strongest bite of any great cat alive today, a power built into its very skull. Its short, broad jaw and powerful muscles allow it to bite through some of the toughest things in its rainforest home, including the thick shells of river turtles and the bony armor of caimans, the small alligator-like reptiles that share its waterways. Where lions and tigers tend to grip their prey by the throat, the jaguar often delivers a single, precise bite to the back of the head, a hunting style unique among the great cats and shaped by the slow demands of a forest world full of well-armored prey. This quiet strength is part of why so many cultures of the Americas saw the jaguar as a creature of power and mystery. There is nothing showy about it. The jaguar simply walks, watches, and acts, and then settles back into the deep silence of the forest, its work done with very little sound at all. Jaguar rosettes have small dots inside their dark rings. At a quick glance, the coats of jaguars and leopards can look almost identical, both wearing soft golden fur scattered with dark rosettes. Look more carefully, however, and you will see a quiet difference. Inside many of the jaguar's rosettes, there are one or more small dark spots, like tiny dots placed inside the larger rings, the way an old painter might leave a single small mark inside each curve of a flower. Leopards have rosettes too, but theirs are usually empty in the center, simply broken rings with no spots inside. It is a small detail that helps researchers and gentle observers like you tell these two beautiful cats apart in photographs and videos from far-off forests. There is something almost like quiet handwriting in those small inner spots, as if the jaguar's coat were a slightly more elaborate version of the same ancient story written across the leopard. Jaguars love water and often hunt at the river's edge. Of all the great cats, the jaguar may be the most at home in water. In the warm rainforests and flooded grasslands where it lives, the jaguar spends a great deal of its life along rivers, swimming through slow brown water, walking the muddy edges, resting on warm stones in the late afternoon sun. They are excellent swimmers, capable of crossing wide rivers and even pulling heavy prey through the current with calm, steady strokes. Many of their meals come from the water itself, including fish, turtles, and the long, scaly bodies of caimans that share their waterways, all hunted in the slow, hushed style of an animal completely at ease in its element. To picture a jaguar at rest, you should not picture a dry forest floor so much as a slow, dark river, with one great spotted shape stretched along a sandbar in the warm green light, breath rising and falling, the world dissolving slowly into a long afternoon of quiet. The name jaguar comes from an old word meaning "he who kills with one leap." The name jaguar is believed to come from an indigenous word from the languages of South America, often translated as "he who kills with one leap." It is a name shaped by long centuries of quiet observation, by people who shared their forests with this great cat and watched, again and again, how a single soft jaguar could appear from nowhere and end a hunt in a single calm motion. There is no exaggeration in the name, only the slow respect of those who knew the animal best. Many older languages of the Americas have their own names for the jaguar too, each carrying a small piece of the same impression, of strength, of stillness, of sudden, exact movement. To know an animal by its old name is to feel a little of the way our ancestors saw the world, when every great creature carried a story written into its name, and the forest was full of beings whose names were also lessons. Jaguars were sacred to many ancient civilizations of the Americas. Long before any modern country drew its borders across the warm rainforests and high plateaus of the Americas, the great civilizations who lived there had already given the jaguar a place of deep respect. The Olmec, the Maya, the Aztec, and the Inca all wove jaguars into their carvings, their gods, and their stories, often as guardians of the night, of the underworld, or of the long river of dreams. Stone temples carry jaguar faces with wide, watchful eyes, and pottery shows the great spotted shape moving through painted forests that have not existed for centuries. To these ancient peoples, the jaguar was not simply a powerful animal. It was a quiet bridge between the world of waking and the world of sleeping, a creature whose footsteps were thought to echo softly between this world and the next. Some part of that old reverence still lives wherever a wild jaguar walks tonight. Jaguars sometimes climb trees and rest along thick branches like leopards. Although jaguars spend most of their lives on the ground or in shallow water, they are also surprisingly skilled climbers, with a quiet love of high, sturdy branches. In the warm afternoons of the rainforest, a jaguar may walk to the base of a great tree, dig its strong claws into the bark, and slowly haul its heavy body up into the green light above. There it rests on a thick branch, sometimes for hours at a time, watching the slow movement of the world below as the canopy hums with insects and small birds. Climbing is not their main way of life, the way it almost is for leopards. But the jaguar carries the same deep instinct in its body, the same easy understanding of how to live both above and below. To see a jaguar in a tree is to remember that the great cats often share more than they keep separate, and that the same patient strength shows up in many quiet shapes. And from the slow rivers and emerald canopy of the Amazon, our path now opens onto the wide golden plains where the fastest cat on earth lives. Cheetahs can reach the speed of a passing car in only a few seconds. The cheetah is the fastest land animal on earth, capable of reaching speeds of over 70 miles per hour for short bursts across the open plain. Even more impressive than the top speed is how quickly the cheetah gets there. From a standing start, a cheetah can reach the speed of a passing car in only a few seconds. the long body lengthening and gathering with each stride, the soft tan fur blurring into a single golden streak across the grass. Each stride can stretch nearly the length of a small car, and at full speed the cheetah's feet touch the ground for only a moment at a time, almost as if the animal were flying. And yet, despite this incredible burst of motion, a cheetah can hold full speed for only a short distance before it must rest. The fastest creature on land is also one of the most patient, spending most of its hours simply lying in the warm grass, watching, breathing, waiting. The cheetah is built less like a cat and more like a long-distance runner. Look closely at a cheetah, and you will see something almost human about its shape. The deep chest, the long thin legs, the small light head, the long flexible spine, all of it has been shaped by evolution for one quiet purpose: the chase. Compared to lions and tigers, cheetahs are surprisingly slender, almost delicate, more like a runner built for a long and graceful sprint than a heavy fighter. Their long tails act as living rudders, sweeping through the air during a fast turn to keep the body steady, while their flexible spines fold and unfold with every stride to add length and speed. Even their nostrils are larger than other cats, so they can pull in great breaths of air during a sprint, and their large hearts and lungs are built to feed those huge surges of energy. The whole creature is a soft breathing study in how to move quickly and quietly across an open land that asks for both speed and grace. Cheetahs cannot fully retract their claws like other cats can. In most cats, including the great cats and the small house cat sleeping at the foot of someone's bed tonight, the claws can be drawn back into soft sheaths in the paw, kept hidden and sharp until they are needed. The cheetah is the gentle exception. Its claws stay slightly out at all times, more like the studs on a runner's shoe than the curved daggers of a leopard, never fully tucked away into the soft fur of the paw. This unusual feature gives the cheetah extra grip on the dry, sun-baked soil of the African plains, helping it hold the ground during sudden turns and high-speed chases when even a small slip would be costly. It is one small piece of the long story of the cheetah's body, where almost everything has been quietly redesigned for speed. Even something as simple as a claw in the right body becomes a tool for moving more lightly across the world. The black tear lines on a cheetah's face have a quiet purpose. If you look at a cheetah's face, you will notice two long dark lines running from the inner corner of each eye down to the corners of the mouth, almost like soft painted tears. These are not just for decoration. Researchers believe these dark lines help reduce the glare of the bright African sun, much like the black stripes worn by some athletes and pilots beneath their eyes, allowing the cheetah to see prey more clearly across long distances of shimmering grass and pale, drifting dust. The tear lines also give the cheetah's face a quietly sorrowful look, which is part of why so many myths and stories around the world describe the cheetah as a creature who once wept for something it loved. The science is simple. The poetry is gentle. Both are true at once, and both shape how we see this delicate, fast-moving cat under the long, slow afternoon light of Africa. A cheetah does not roar. It chirps like a small bird. The cheetah belongs in the family of great cats by size and shape, but its voice would surprise anyone expecting a roar. Cheetahs cannot roar at all. Instead, they chirp, almost like a small bird. A high, soft sound used between mothers and cubs and between cheetahs greeting one another on the open plain. They also purr, often very loudly, in long, contented rumbles when they are calm and resting in the warmth of the day, the kind of soft sound that would not be out of place in any quiet kitchen at home. Their voices are gentler, lighter, more like the songs of other animals than the deep, chest-shaking calls of a lion or a tiger. There is something deeply moving about a creature that runs faster than any other on Earth, and yet speaks with such a small, quiet voice. Even on this sleepy science journey, the cheetah is a soft reminder that strength and gentleness can live in the same body. After a sprint, a cheetah's body becomes so hot it must rest before it can eat. A cheetah's body works at extraordinary intensity during a chase. The heart races, the lungs work like soft bellows, and the muscles burn so much energy that the cheetah's internal temperature rises sharply in only a few seconds, sometimes climbing dangerously high. After a successful sprint, the cheetah often has to lie down beside its prey, sometimes for many minutes, simply breathing slowly and waiting for its body to cool before it can eat. This vulnerable pause is one of the reasons cheetahs lose many of their meals to other, larger predators who arrive while the cheetah is still recovering. The fastest land animal on Earth must, after every chase, become almost completely still. There is a quiet wisdom in this, that even the swiftest body in the world spends most of its time resting, breathing, and slowly returning to itself before it moves on. Every wild cheetah alive today is genetically very similar to every other. Of all the great cats, the cheetah carries one of the most unusual stories in its very genes. Many thousands of years ago, the cheetah population dropped to a very small number, perhaps because of a sudden change in climate or the loss of much of their habitat. And every wild cheetah alive today is descended from those few survivors. As a result, all wild cheetahs are unusually closely related to each other, almost like a vast extended family scattered across Africa and a small corner of Iran. This makes them more vulnerable to disease and to the slow pressures of a changing world, but it also tells a quietly hopeful story. From a tiny number of ancestors, an entire species has carried itself forward across the long sweep of time, a soft survival story written into the very cells of every cheetah breathing softly tonight on the warm African earth. And as you rest with these thoughts, there is no need to chase them, no need to keep up. Let them slow down on their own, the way a cheetah slows after a long run. Take a quiet breath in, a quieter breath out, and let these gentle facts to fall asleep to settle into the warm space behind your eyes. The puma goes by more names than any other animal in the world. Few creatures on Earth carry as many names as the puma. Across the long stretch of the Americas, the same animal is known as the puma, the cougar, the mountain lion, the panther, the catamount, and dozens of other names in the older indigenous languages of the lands where it lives. This single great cat holds a record in the books for having more common names than any other animal in the world. Each name carries a quiet flavor of the place that gave it. Mountain lion belongs to the high pine ridges of the American West. Panther rises from the swamps of the southeastern United States, and the soft sound of the word puma comes from an old Quechua language of the Andes. To know all its names is to feel how many different peoples, in how many different landscapes, have lived alongside the same calm, watchful animal under the long night skies of two great continents. Pumas have the largest north to south range of any wild land mammal in the Americas. The puma walks an enormous stretch of land, all the way from the cold pine forests of western Canada in the north, down through the western United States and Mexico, across the entire long spine of the Andes Mountains, and into the windy southern tip of Patagonia in Chile and Argentina. No other wild land mammal in the Americas covers so much north to south distance, from the snowy mountains of one continent to the cold, wind-shaped grasslands of another. Wherever they live, pumas have learned to fit themselves quietly into the landscape, eating different prey in different regions, growing slightly larger in cold places and slightly smaller in warm ones. They walk through the same long, ancient mountain corridor that has carried these soft-footed great cats since long before any human cities were drawn onto a map of the ancient world. Despite their size, pumas cannot roar like the great cats of the old world. The puma can grow nearly as large as a small leopard with a long, muscular body and the heavy paws of a true great cat, and yet its voice is more like that of a house cat than that of a lion. Pumas cannot roar at all. They lack the soft, flexible cartilage in the throat that lets lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars produce that famous, deep, rolling sound that carries for miles across an open landscape. Instead, the puma yowls, growls, hisses, and most strangely of all, it sometimes lets out a long, eerie scream that has frightened more than one tired traveler in a quiet mountain valley at dusk. Yet much of the time, the puma is almost completely silent, slipping through forests and over rocky ridges without a single sound. The largest cat that cannot roar is also one of the gentlest in voice, mostly speaking only when it must, and otherwise content to walk in long, listening silence under the stars. Pumas can leap nearly the height of a two-story building. Hidden in the strong back legs of the puma is one of the most extraordinary jumps in the natural world. From a standing position with no run-up at all, a puma can leap upwards more than 15 feet in a single soft motion, almost the height of a two-story building. From a moving start, it can leap even further, clearing wide rocky gaps and high tree branches with the calm, easy grace of an animal completely at home in difficult terrain. This power lets pumas live in landscapes most other large cats would find impossible. The steep cliffs of the Rocky Mountains, the broken ridges of the Andes, the rough pine canyons of California. Watching a puma leap is like watching a great spring of muscle and bone unwind in slow motion, the long tail trailing behind for balance. There is something quietly thrilling about a body that can fly, even briefly, through the open air of a mountain night. The puma's purr is one of the deepest in the cat family. Although the puma cannot roar, it makes up for it with one of the deepest, most relaxing purrs in the cat family. When a puma is calm, resting, or quietly grooming its young, the long, slow rumble of its purr can fill a small cave or hollow with a warm, soft vibration that almost seems to settle into the surrounding rock. Some researchers believe the steady frequency of cat purrs, including the pumas, may have a quietly soothing effect on both the cat and any living thing nearby, which is part of why so many of us find the sound of a purring cat so comforting at the end of a long day. If you have ever listened to a small cat purring against your chest, you already know a tiny version of the puma's voice. To imagine a wild puma in the high pines tonight, eyes half closed, breath slow, and the deep, warm hum of its own purr softly rising from its chest, is to picture a creature already practicing the rest you are searching for now. Mountain lions sometimes share kills, even though they live alone. For a long time, scientists believed that mountain lions, the puma's other common name in North America, were almost completely solitary, walking, hunting, and resting alone for most of their lives. More recent research, including long-term studies using cameras hidden in the high pine forests, has gently changed this picture. Mountain lions are still mostly solitary, but they have also been seen sharing meals with other pumas they know, especially relatives, the way a quiet, distant family will sometimes come together over food before drifting apart again. These shared moments are slow, almost ceremonial, with one cat eating while another waits patiently a short distance away, then taking its own turn. It is a small, gentle reminder that even the most solitary creatures in the wild often live within softer, deeper webs of connection than we ever guessed from the outside. And from the steep canyons and pine slopes of the Pumas Mountains, our journey climbs higher still into the thin air of the world's tallest peaks. The snow leopard is sometimes called the ghost of the mountains. High in the cold mountains of Central Asia, far above the tree line, lives a great cat so quiet, so well hidden, and so rarely seen that the people who share its mountains have long called it the ghost of the mountains. The snow leopard walks through some of the highest, most remote places on Earth, the steep ridges of the Himalayas, the windswept slopes of the Tibetan Plateau, the rocky valleys of Mongolia, where the air is thin, the sun is sharp, and most of the year the world is white. Even researchers who study them often go for years without seeing a single snow leopard in person, knowing them only through paw prints in the snow and brief glimpses caught by hidden cameras. To call a real animal a ghost is, in this case, an honest description. The snow leopard is real, and yet its life is mostly invisible, hidden behind the long quiet of the high places. A snow leopard's tail is nearly as long as its body. The snow leopard carries one of the longest, thickest tails of any cat in the world, almost as long as the rest of its body. This great soft tail is far more than decoration. On steep, slippery rocks and along narrow ridges of snow, the tail acts as a quiet balance, sweeping behind the leopard as it leaps and turns, helping the animal stay perfectly steady on surfaces that would defeat almost any other creature its size. When the snow leopard finally curls up to rest in a sheltered cave or against a wall of cold rock, the tail also wraps around the body and over the face, working like a soft fur scarf that warms the breath against the bitter mountain cold. To picture a sleeping snow leopard tonight is to picture a small, perfect circle of gray and white fur high on a remote slope, the great tail tucked gently around it, the slow breath of the animal warming itself softly from the inside out, hour after quiet hour. The snow leopard's pale coat is shaped by the color of its world. The snow leopard wears a coat that almost seems to have been borrowed from the mountains themselves. Its fur is pale gray, smoky white, and softly cream-colored, scattered with dark rosettes whose shapes echo the broken patterns of stones and shadow on a snow-covered slope. From a short distance, a snow leopard sitting still on a rocky ridge becomes almost invisible, its outline melting into the surrounding world of pale stone and old snow. Even its long fur is shaped by where it lives, growing thicker on the belly than on the back, so that when the cat lies down on the icy ground, the warmest layer of fur is between its body and the cold beneath. Everything about its appearance is a slow, careful answer to one quiet question: how to live unseen and warm in a world that asks for both at once. The snow leopard does not stand out against its mountain. It quietly belongs to it, the way a stone belongs to a riverbed. Snow leopards can leap horizontally across distances longer than a school bus. Among all the great cats, the snow leopard may be the most extraordinary jumper. From a powerful crouch on a high ledge, a snow leopard can leap horizontally a distance of nearly 50 feet in a single bound, longer than the length of a typical school bus. This makes it one of the longest jumpers in the entire animal kingdom. In the steep, broken country of its mountain home, where one slope ends in empty air and the next ledge waits across a deep, narrow gap, this kind of jump is not a trick. It is a quiet form of survival. The snow leopard drops slightly into a coil, the long tail trailing behind for balance, and then unfolds in one long arc through the cold mountain air, landing softly on the next ledge as though no great distance had ever been crossed. To see it, even in a film, is to feel how lightly such a heavy body can move when it knows its world by heart. Snow leopards do not roar, even though they belong to the great cats. Although the snow leopard is closely related to the lion and the tiger and shares much of the same body shape and hunting style as the other great cats, it does not actually roar at all. The soft cartilage in its throat is shaped a little differently, and the great rolling sound that defines so many of its larger cousins is simply not part of its quiet voice. Instead, snow leopards make a quieter, gentler set of sounds. They mew, they hiss, they growl very softly, and they sometimes give a long, low, almost moaning call known as a chuff or a yowl, used to communicate with other snow leopards across the wide, empty distances of their high mountain home. The ghost of the mountains is also, in many ways, the quietest of the great cats, a creature that has chosen the language of soft, breathy sound over the great roar that travels for miles across an open plain. Snow leopards have wide, fur-covered paws that act like natural snowshoes. Look closely at the paw of a snow leopard, and you will see something quietly remarkable. The paws are unusually wide and round, far larger than you might expect for the cat's body size, and they are completely covered in soft, dense fur on the underside. This works exactly like a pair of natural snowshoes, spreading the cat's weight across the surface of the snow so that it does not sink into the deep, soft drifts of the high mountain winters. The fur on the bottom of the paws also adds extra warmth, protecting the leopard's feet from the bitter cold of the icy ground and offering a soft, quiet grip on slippery rocks. Even something as small as the underside of a paw has been gently shaped over many long ages of evolution to fit perfectly into a single, very specific kind of cold, white, wind-shaped world high above the rest of the breathing, living Earth. Almost no one in the world has ever heard a wild snow leopard make a sound. Even researchers who have spent years studying snow leopards in the wild often go entire careers without hearing one make any sound at all. Most of what is known about snow leopard voices comes from animals living in zoos and wildlife sanctuaries, where their soft mews, gentle chuffs, and quiet calls have been carefully recorded for science. In the wild, the snow leopard moves in such silence, across such empty country, that it might as well be a piece of the mountain itself drifting from shadow to shadow. There is something deeply restful about imagining a creature so completely committed to quietness, walking long miles through deep snow without disturbing a single grain of the world around it. As you settle in tonight in this sleep documentary about big cats, your own breathing might begin to feel a little like the snow leopard's footsteps, soft, careful, and almost entirely unheard by anyone but you. And from the silent ridges where the ghost cat walks, our path returns to the deeper roots of the family, to the great story of where every cat began. All cats alive today share a common ancestor that lived around 11 million years ago. Every cat alive in the world tonight, from the tiniest pet kitten curled on a windowsill to the largest tiger walking quietly through a forest in the Russian Far East, shares a single common ancestor. Scientists believe this ancestor lived around 11 million years ago, somewhere in the warm forests of Asia, a small, soft-footed predator whose descendants would eventually spread across almost every continent on Earth. From that one quiet origin came the lions, the tigers, the leopards, the jaguars, the cheetahs, the snow leopards, the pumas, and dozens of smaller cats whose names most of us will never learn. To watch any cat sleep tonight is to look at the long end of an unbroken thread that stretches back across millions of slow, peaceful years. Each cat, in its own quiet way, is a living memory of that very ancient, almost forgotten beginning. The saber-toothed cat was not actually a tiger. The famous saber-toothed cat, the great prehistoric predator with the long curved canine teeth, is often called the saber-toothed tiger in popular books and films. The truth is a little gentler and a little stranger. Saber-toothed cats were not tigers at all. They belonged to a completely separate branch of the cat family, called the Machairodonts, which split away from the ancestors of modern cats long before tigers, lions, or leopards ever existed. They lived across many parts of the world for millions of years, hunting large grazing animals during the long ice ages before quietly disappearing as the climate shifted and their prey began to vanish. To picture them now is to picture not an early version of a modern tiger, but a different kind of great cat altogether. One that walked the earth in its own time, and then very slowly stepped out of the long story of life forever. The American lion was once one of the largest cats ever to walk the earth. During the last great ice age, North America was home to a giant, long-vanished cat known as the American lion. It was closely related to the modern African lion, but it grew significantly larger, with some scientists estimating that the biggest males may have weighed as much as 800 pounds, far heavier than today's biggest lions or tigers. They walked the cold grasslands and open plains of what is now the United States and Canada, hunting bison, deer, and other large grazing animals during the same long, frosty centuries that saw woolly mammoths and giant ground sloths roaming the continent. Then, Slowly, as the Ice Age ended and the climate warmed, this enormous cat quietly disappeared. Tonight, somewhere beneath the soft soil of North America, their old bones lie still, the silent record of a great spotted shadow that once moved across these very lands. Cave paintings show that humans have known and admired big cats for tens of thousands of years. In deep caves across France, Spain, and other parts of the world, ancient humans left behind paintings of the animals that shared their world. Among the most striking of these images are the cave paintings of great cats, painted on stone walls by candlelight more than 30,000 years ago. There are lions drawn together in slow, watchful groups, their faces remarkably detailed, their eyes carefully shaped, captured by artists who clearly knew them well. To look at these paintings now, even in photographs, is to feel a quiet thread of connection running back through the long ages of human life. Big cats have been part of our stories, our dreams, and our admiration for almost as long as we have been able to tell stories at all. The same wonder that lives in those ancient paintings is still alive in every quiet documentary for sleep made about these animals tonight. The cheetah and the puma share a surprisingly close family link. At first glance, the cheetah of Africa and the puma of the Americas seem to live in completely separate worlds, on different continents, hunting different animals. Yet genetic studies have revealed something quietly fascinating. These two cats are more closely related to each other than either of them is to any of the great roaring cats. Their shared ancestor most likely lived in the Americas millions of years ago, and over the long sweep of time, one branch of that family stayed in the New World and slowly became the puma we know today, while another wandered across the ancient land bridges into the Old World and eventually became the cheetah of the African plains. Two cats, on two distant continents, with two completely different lives, still quietly carry the memory of the same ancient parent in the soft architecture of their bones, their muscles, and the slow rhythm of their long, even breathing. The clouded leopard sits quietly between the small cats and the great cats. Hidden in the dense, humid forests of Southeast Asia lives a beautiful, mysterious cat known as the clouded leopard. It is named for the large, soft, cloud-like patterns on its coat, which look almost as though pieces of pale gray sky have been gently stitched into its fur. The clouded leopard is not quite a small cat, but it is also not quite a great cat. It sits in its own quiet branch of the cat family with features that belong to both worlds. It can purr like a small cat, but it also has long canine teeth that look almost like a softer echo of the ancient saber-toothed cats of the long-vanished ice ages. It can climb upside down beneath tree branches, hang from its back legs, and even descend a tree head first, moving with the calm confidence of an animal completely at ease in the high green canopy of its forest home, far above the slow, sleeping forest floor. And from the deep family tree of cats, our journey now turns inward into the elegant body shared by every great cat that walks the earth today. A big cat's eyes can see in light 6 times dimmer than what humans need. The eyes of big cats are some of the most beautifully designed light catchers in the entire natural world. They can see in light around 6 times dimmer than what the human eye needs to make out shapes clearly, which is one of the reasons most great cats prefer to hunt at dawn, at dusk, or under the soft silver of a moonlit night. The secret is a special layer at the back of the eye called the tapetum lucidum, which acts almost like a small, polished mirror, sending any incoming light back through the eye a second time so the cat can use it twice. This is also what causes a cat's eyes to glow brightly in the beam of a torch in the dark, with that strange, beautiful greenish or golden shine. To imagine a leopard, a tiger, or a lion watching the world tonight is to imagine a creature for whom the soft darkness is not empty at all, but quietly full of gentle, silver-edged shapes drifting slowly across the land. Behind a big cat's eye is a tiny mirror that catches the light twice. The shining eyes of a great cat in the dark are not a trick of the light at all. They are a quiet piece of natural engineering. Behind the retina, every big cat carries a thin reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum, made of tiny crystals that act almost like a small polished mirror set deep inside the eye. When light enters the eye, it passes through the retina once, then bounces off this little mirror and passes back through the retina a second time, doubling the chance that the cat will see whatever is in front of it. This is why a tiger or a leopard caught in the soft beam of a torch seems to glow with two pale golden lamps in the dark. It is also why these animals can hunt so calmly under the moon, in light far too dim for human eyes to make any clear sense of the slow, softly drifting shapes around them in the warm, breathing, moonlit night. A big cat's whiskers are deeply tuned sensors of the world. The long whiskers of a great cat are far more than simple decoration on the face. Each whisker is rooted deep in the skin, surrounded by a small, soft pocket of nerves and rich blood, and connected to a special area of the brain that processes the tiniest movements of the air around the cat. With these whiskers, a big cat can feel the soft breath of wind that means a small animal has just moved nearby in the dark, or the gentle change in air pressure when a hidden branch lies just ahead in the night. The whiskers above the eyes also act like quiet warning sensors, triggering a soft, automatic blink whenever something brushes against them, protecting the delicate eye beneath. Each whisker is, in its own way, a small, very sensitive listening device, helping the great cat read a world that ordinary human senses are far too coarse to perceive in any real, careful, quiet detail. The rough tongue of a big cat is built for cleaning meat from bone. Run a finger along the tongue of any cat, even a small house cat sleeping in the corner of a quiet room, and you will feel that strange roughness that almost catches the skin. This is caused by tiny backward-facing hooks called papillae, made of the same hard material as fingernails. In big cats, these hooks are larger and stronger, working almost like a soft, living comb. They are perfectly shaped for cleaning every last piece of meat from the bones of prey, scraping flesh away cleanly so that almost nothing is wasted in the slow economy of the wild. The same rough tongue also helps the cat groom itself for hours, combing through its thick fur, lifting away dirt, and smoothing the coat into a sleek, silent layer. To picture a great cat slowly grooming itself in the warm afternoon shade is to picture an animal practicing one of the oldest, most patient, quiet rituals in the entire natural world tonight. Big cats walk on their toes, not the soles of their feet. Look at the way a great cat moves through the soft grass, and you will see something quietly unusual. Big cats are what scientists call digitigrade walkers, meaning they move on the very tips of their toes rather than on the flat soles of their feet, the way humans do when we walk across a wooden floor. Their heels never actually touch the ground when they walk. This raised, on-the-toes posture gives them a longer, springier stride, more power in each step, and far quieter footfall, since only the soft, padded tips of the paws press into the soil or the leaves below. It is one of the reasons big cats can move with such surprising silence, even when they weigh as much as a fully grown person. The next time you see a leopard, a tiger, or even a small house cat walking across a quiet floor, watch the feet very closely. Every soft step is carried, very gently, on tiptoe. A big cat's spine is so flexible it acts almost like a living spring. The spine of a big cat is one of the most flexible and beautifully built structures in any large mammal. Unlike the relatively rigid backbones of horses or cattle, the spine of a tiger, a leopard, or a cheetah can bend deeply both up and down, almost folding the body in half during a fast leap or a high jump. This deep flexibility works almost like a long living spring set inside the body. As the cat runs, the back arches and unfolds with every stride, adding extra length to each step and helping to throw the back legs forward into the next stride. It is one of the reasons cheetahs can move so fast across the open plains, and why even larger great cats can leap with such surprising ease across rough mountain ground. The whole skeleton is built around a soft, silent rhythm of bending and unbending, a body designed for slow, quiet patience and sudden, graceful bursts of motion across the open lands of the night. And as you rest, let this sleep documentary become like the slow rise and fall of a great cat's breath beside you. There is nothing to do, nothing to follow. Take a soft breath in, a softer one out, and let your body settle a little deeper into the warmth of where you are. The retractable claws of a big cat are kept sharp by being kept hidden. With the gentle exception of the cheetah, almost every big cat in the world has fully retractable claws. When the cat is walking, resting, or quietly grooming itself in the warm afternoon shade, the claws stay tucked away inside soft sheaths of skin and fur in the paws, hidden completely from the ground. Only when the claws are needed for climbing, gripping, or hunting does the cat extend them with a soft, almost invisible flex of the muscles in the paw. Keeping the claws hidden in this way means they never wear down against the rough surface of the earth, so they remain almost as sharp as the day they first grew in. Every great cat resting somewhere in the world tonight, paws softly folded under its chest, carries a perfectly quiet, perfectly preserved set of curved claws, hidden out of sight and ready, but only for the rare moments when they are truly and quietly needed. Big cats can rotate their hearing to pinpoint a single sound in the dark. The ears of a great cat are remarkable instruments of careful listening. Each ear can rotate independently, controlled by more than 20 small muscles, allowing the cat to point one ear forward and one ear back at the same time, sweeping the surrounding world for any soft sound that might matter. This lets a tiger, a lion, or a leopard pinpoint exactly where a quiet rustle is coming from, even on a dark night with no visible movement at all. Big cats can also hear sounds far higher in pitch than the human ear can manage, which helps them detect the soft, almost ultrasonic squeaks of small prey moving through the grass. To picture a great cat tonight, somewhere in the slow forest dark, ears turning gently in different directions, is to picture a creature deep inside a long, patient, almost meditative practice of listening to the world around it. The bones in a great cat's neck are thick enough to absorb the shock of a fall from a tree. Many big cats spend a great deal of their lives in trees, especially leopards and clouded leopards, who often climb high into the branches to rest, to feed, or simply to watch the world from a quieter distance. To survive the occasional slip or jump from a great height, their bodies have been carefully shaped over millions of years to handle the sudden shock of landing on the hard ground far below. The bones of a big cat's neck and shoulders are thicker and stronger than those of similar-sized animals. The spine and inner ear are perfectly tuned to right the body in mid-air, and the soft pads of the feet act as shock absorbers when the cat finally lands. The same body that climbs so easily into the high green branches is also quietly designed to descend, gently and safely, even when something unexpected happens far above the slow, sleeping forest floor. Most big cats have a sense of smell far stronger than ours. Although the eyesight and hearing of big cats are remarkable, their sense of smell is also far stronger than the human nose can really imagine. The inside of a great cat's nose is lined with millions of tiny scent receptors, far more than humans carry, all gently tuned to read the layered chemistry of the air. They can pick up the faint smell of another cat that passed through the area days earlier, the soft scent of prey moving through distant grass, or the warning signs of a rival territory marked at the edge of a forest path. Many big cats also have a special organ on the roof of the mouth called the Jacobson's organ, which lets them taste smells in addition to breathing them in through the nose. This is why you sometimes see a cat lift its lip in a strange, slow grimace, gently drawing the air across this hidden, ancient, very quiet sense, reading messages no human could ever hope to read. And from the elegant architecture of their bodies, our quiet journey turns to something even older. the deep, wordless behaviors that shape every wildcat's day. Big cats spend most of their lives doing very little. If you imagine a tiger, a lion, or a leopard, your mind probably pictures the animal hunting, running, or stalking through the long grass with golden eyes fixed on something in the distance. The truth is much quieter. Big cats spend most of their lives doing almost nothing at all. Lions can rest for up to 20 hours each day, lying together in the soft shade of an acacia tree, breathing slowly while the heat of the world drifts past them in a long, golden hush. Tigers, leopards, jaguars, and cheetahs all spend long, slow stretches of every day simply lying in cool grass, on warm rocks, or beneath gentle branches, eyes half closed, listening to the world around them without acting on it. To watch a great cat at rest is, in many ways, to be quietly invited into the same long, patient stillness you might be searching for now as you settle softly into your own quiet evening tonight. A great cat at rest is still a great cat listening. Even when a big cat is lying perfectly still in the soft afternoon shade of an old tree, its mind and senses are quietly active in ways that are easy to miss from the outside. The ears keep gently turning towards small sounds in the distance. The nostrils softly flare and relax with the changing sense of the air, and the eyes, even when half closed, are still slowly tracking the movements of birds, leaves, and distant shapes. Researchers studying lions and tigers in the wild have noticed that what looks like complete laziness is actually a kind of careful, restful watching, a body deeply at ease while the senses remain calmly on duty in the long, quiet background. There is something quietly worth learning in this. To rest is not the same as to be absent. A great cat is most beautifully present in the slow, soft hours when it does not seem to be doing anything at all out in the long, open afternoon light. Big cats mark the edges of their world with scent rather than walls. Most big cats live in territories far too large to be defended by walking patrols alone. Instead of fences or constant guarding, they rely on a long, quiet system of scent. Lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, pumas, and snow leopards all leave careful chemical signals along the edges of their lands, spraying small, almost invisible marks of scent on rocks, on tree trunks, and at the corners of well-worn paths through the long grass. Each mark carries a great deal of soft information for any cat who passes by later, including the age, the sex, the health, and even the mood of the animal who left it. In this way, two great cats can share a wide region for years without ever needing to meet, reading each other's slow, invisible messages on the warm evening wind. The big cat world is full of borders that human eyes cannot see, but every cat who walks through them quietly understands them word for word. The slow blink of a cat is one of the gentlest signals in the animal world. Anyone who has ever shared a quiet room with a friendly cat may have noticed a particular soft, slow blink that the cat sometimes offers, eyes closing gently, then opening again very slowly. Researchers now believe that this slow blink is a real form of communication. It is the cat's quiet way of saying, in its own gentle language, that it feels safe, calm, and at ease in your company tonight. Big cats in the wild use a very similar slow, gentle blinking with members of their own family and even, occasionally, with the people who care for them in sanctuaries. To offer a slow blink back to a calm cat is, in a small way, to enter into one of the gentlest greetings the entire animal world has to offer. It is a quiet reminder that not every important conversation needs words or sound, or even very much movement at all in the long, soft, calm evening. Big cats often greet each other by rubbing cheeks and foreheads. When two friendly big cats from the same family meet again after some time apart, their greetings are often surprisingly tender and slow. Lions, in particular, are known for greeting one another by gently rubbing cheeks, pressing foreheads softly together, and sliding their long golden bodies along each other in slow, calm passes through the warm grass. This behavior is not just a social ritual. It is also a quiet way of exchanging scent, mixing their personal smells together so that each member of the family carries the soft chemical signature of the whole group. Tigers, leopards, cheetahs, and pumas use very similar greetings with their own close kin, especially mothers and cubs. To watch this is to see the great cats of the world as deeply social, deeply gentle creatures, far more capable of soft warmth than the dramatic stories of hunting and roaring usually suggest in the bright midday daylight. A mother cat carries her cubs by the loose skin of the neck without ever hurting them. One of the gentlest sights in the entire natural world is a mother big cat carrying her tiny cub through the long grass, holding the soft fold of skin at the back of the cub's neck very carefully between her teeth. This loose patch of skin is called the scruff, and young cats have a quiet reflex that makes them go almost completely still and limp when their mother lifts them this way, helping her move them safely from one hidden den to another. The mother's bite is incredibly soft, just enough to lift, never enough to hurt the tender skin of the cub. If you have ever watched a wildlife film of a tiger or a leopard quietly moving her cubs by night, the slow, careful tenderness in her face is unmistakable. The same teeth that can take down large prey can also carry a tiny new life across the wild without leaving so much as a single scratch behind on the warm, soft fur. Big cat cubs are born with their eyes closed and rely entirely on their mother. Big cat cubs come into the world surprisingly small, soft, and helpless. Their eyes are still tightly closed, their ears are folded down against the head, and they cannot yet walk. For the first weeks of life, they depend completely on their mother for warmth, food, and protection, lying together in a soft pile in a hidden den. Their eyes slowly open after about a week, and even then their vision is blurry for many days. The mother cat returns to the den every few hours to feed them, leaving for short, careful hunts before coming back to lie quietly with them again. There is something deeply moving about imagining these tiny, blind, perfect creatures sleeping safely in a hidden cave or thicket somewhere in the wide world tonight, completely held by the patient warmth of their mother in the soft, dim quiet of those very first long, golden weeks. Cubs spend more than a year learning how to be a great cat. Becoming a great cat takes a surprisingly long time. Most big cat cubs stay with their mother for between 1 and 2 years, sometimes a little longer, slowly learning everything they need to know to survive on their own in the wide, complicated world. They watch how she moves through the landscape, how she stalks her prey, how she chooses safe places to rest and hide her young from danger. They practice hunting through long, gentle play sessions with their siblings, leaping, wrestling, and chasing each other through the long grass for hours at a time. By the end of this slow education, a young lion or tiger has built a deep, almost wordless library of skills and patterns inside its body. Then, one quiet day, the young cat is finally ready, and the long, slow leaving begins. Each great cat in the world tonight carries the patient memory of that very long lesson learned beside its mother in the warm afternoon light. And from the patient lessons of the cub, our path now turns to the ancient meeting between humans and the great cats, a story as old as fire. The earliest cat tamed by humans was not a small house cat at all. The very oldest evidence of a friendship between humans and cats does not come from the modern house cat at all. Archaeologists working on the island of Cyprus have found the grave of a person buried more than 9,000 years ago, with the bones of a cat carefully placed beside them in the soft earth. This cat was not yet the small, fully domesticated animal we know today. It was a wild cat, larger and more cautious, who had clearly lived close enough to a human to be quietly remembered at the end of a single life. Long before pet cats curled on warm beds in cities all over the world, The very first cat and human friendship may have looked more like a quiet, mutual agreement between two thoughtful animals sharing the same small patch of earth. Even the deep history of cats is, in its own way, a long, soft story about the slow growth of trust between two species over many quiet years. Ancient Egypt revered cats as quiet bridges to the divine. In ancient Egypt, cats were not simply pets curled on warm windowsills. They were considered deeply sacred, quiet bridges between the everyday world of human life and the long, mysterious world of the gods. The goddess Bastet was often shown as a woman with the head of a cat, watching gently over the home, the family, and the safe, slow rhythms of daily life. Larger cats, including lions and leopards, were also closely associated with other powerful gods, and their carved images appear on temple walls and tombs across the long golden valley of the Nile. When a beloved cat died in an Egyptian household, the family would sometimes shave their eyebrows in mourning, and the cat itself might be carefully wrapped and placed in a small tomb of its own. To live near a cat in this old world was to live a little closer to the slow breath of something sacred running quietly through the entire universe. The lion has been a symbol of kingship across many cultures for thousands of years. Across thousands of years and many different cultures, the lion has stood as a quiet symbol of kingship, courage, and authority. The thrones of ancient kings in the Near East were often guarded by carved stone lions. Medieval kings of Europe placed lions on their banners and shields, and the same image still appears on the coats of arms of many countries, sports teams, and old royal cities today. In Africa, lions appear in long oral traditions and folktales as wise rulers of the animal world, often paired with stories about how to live with strength, generosity, and patience. The lion's role as a symbol of leadership is so old and so widespread that it has become a quiet thread linking many human histories. Even now, somewhere in the soft glow of a flag tonight, an ancient golden lion is still standing watch in the long darkness of human memory. In ancient Asia, the tiger was seen as a guardian of the forests. In many of the older cultures of Asia, the tiger was not only feared but also deeply respected as a guardian, a protector of the great wild forests where it lived. In Korean folk tales, the tiger appears as a wise, slightly grumpy figure who watches over mountain villages and is sometimes outwitted by clever rabbits or quiet farmers. In Chinese tradition, the white tiger is one of the 4 sacred celestial animals, watching over the western direction of the world. In parts of India and Southeast Asia, tigers are still associated with powerful forest spirits and goddesses, their slow, striped shape walking quietly through ancient stories. To the people who shared these forests for thousands of years, the tiger was less a simple predator and more a kind of slow, golden presence at the edge of the trees, deserving of careful, gentle respect, even in absence. The jaguar was the heart of many old myths in Central and South America. In the long history of the great civilizations of Central and South America, the jaguar held a place of quiet, deep importance for many thousands of years. The Olmec, the Maya, and the Aztec all wove the jaguar into their stories of creation, of the gods, and of the soft boundary between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Maya kings sometimes wore jaguar pelts to show their connection to a powerful animal spirit, and special jaguar warriors formed elite groups within the Aztec armies. The night sky itself was sometimes imagined as the spotted coat of a great cosmic jaguar slowly walking across the heavens after sundown. Even today, in the long green forests of Central and South America, the jaguar still carries the slow, quiet weight of all those very old stories with each soft, careful step it takes through the warm green dark. Constellations across the world hold a great cat among the stars. If you look up at the night sky on a clear evening, you may be looking at the same patterns of stars that ancient sky watchers once shaped into great cats. The constellation Leo, named for the lion, has been known by that name in many different cultures for thousands of years, its main stars tracing a long, placed verse, reclining shape that does indeed resemble a resting lion in the sky. Other cultures place tigers, leopards, and lynxes among the stars, drawing the bodies of great cats across the slow, turning night sky above their warm, sleeping villages. To know that humans, in many different times and places, have looked up at the same stars and quietly recognized a great cat, there is a small, beautiful reminder of how deeply these animals are woven into human imagination. Even on a quiet, modern evening tonight, a soft, ancient starry lion is still drifting slowly above your roof. The roar of a lion in a film is often not actually from a lion. The famous deep roar of a lion that opens many films and television shows is not always what it seems. Sound designers and audio engineers often find that real lion roars, while powerful, do not always sound quite dramatic enough for the cinema. So they sometimes layer in other sounds, the deep growls of bears, the calls of tigers, or even modified human voices to build the long, rolling roar that audiences associate with the king of the great cats. The famous opening roar of a certain Hollywood studio is itself a carefully built recording, not a single moment captured in the wild. To a sleep documentary, this is a small reminder that even the sounds we think we know best are often quietly stitched together from many different parts, layered carefully into one long, rolling sound that feels familiar without ever being entirely true to a single, real night. And from the long companionship of myth and memory, our journey now becomes more tender as we listen to the quiet ways that the great cats are still learning to live alongside us. There are now more tigers in human care than in the wild. One of the quietly sad facts about tigers today is that more of them now live in human care than in the wild forests where they truly belong. Across zoos, sanctuaries, and unfortunately also private collections, tens of thousands of tigers are kept by people, while the entire wild population around the world is estimated to be only somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 animals. This imbalance tells two stories at once. It is a soft warning about how much of the wild has been lost over the last 100 years, and it is also a quiet hope, because every cub born in a careful, well-run conservation program keeps a thread of the species alive for the future. Wild tigers still walk the long forests tonight, but in much smaller numbers than only 100 years ago, and their slow recovery now depends on the patient, steady work of many quiet people across many different lands. Wild lion populations have shrunk to a small fraction of what they once were. Only a few centuries ago, lions walked across vast stretches of Africa, the Middle East, and even parts of southern Europe and Asia. Today, the great majority of wild lions live in a small handful of countries in Africa, with only a tiny remaining population of Asiatic lions surviving in a single forest in India. The total number of wild lions in the world has dropped by more than half in the last few decades alone. The reasons are softly familiar. The slow loss of habitat to farms and roads, conflicts with the people who share their lands, and changes to the prey animals they depend on. Yet there is still real hope. Across Africa, careful conservation work, community projects, and protected reserves are helping wild lions hold on, so that the long, golden roar continues to drift across the warm African night under the same old ancient stars. Wildlife corridors are quiet bridges that let great cats find each other again. As roads, farms, and cities have grown, many big cat populations have been slowly cut off from each other, left in small, isolated patches of wildland where it becomes harder to find new mates and harder for the species to stay genetically healthy in the long run. Conservationists have begun to answer this with a beautifully simple idea: the wildlife corridor. These are long strips of protected land, sometimes natural and sometimes carefully restored, that quietly connect one wild area to another, allowing great cats and many other animals to walk safely between them. In some places, special wildlife bridges and tunnels have even been built across busy roads, letting tigers, leopards, jaguars, and pumas pass over or beneath the traffic without harm. Each corridor is, in its own quiet way, a small act of kindness stretching across the long, slow landscape of an entire continent. Camera traps have become one of the kindest tools for studying big cats. Studying big cats in the wild has always been difficult because they move so quietly and live in such remote places. In recent decades, a wonderfully gentle technology has changed everything. The camera trap is a small weatherproof camera left fastened to a tree or a rock, set to take a photograph or short video whenever an animal walks past. The cat is not touched, not chased, not held, and often does not even notice the soft click of the camera in the dark. From these quiet recordings, researchers can identify individual leopards, tigers, jaguars, and snow leopards by their unique stripe and spot patterns, count populations, and track each animal's slow movement across the years. It is a deeply respectful way to listen in on the lives of the great cats, watching from a long, polite distance while they continue to live entirely on their own terms. Some big cat species have begun to slowly return to lands they had left. In a quietly hopeful turn, several big cat species have begun to return to areas where they had not been seen for many decades. Pumas have been gently expanding their range in parts of North and South America, with occasional sightings in regions that had not held them for over a century. Jaguars have been spotted again in the southwestern United States, slowly walking back into landscapes their ancestors once knew well. In Europe, lynxes and other wild cats are being carefully reintroduced into old forests where they had completely vanished long ago. None of this happens quickly, and none of it happens by accident. It is the long, patient work of conservation, of community, and of giving the wild a quiet little space to breathe again. The slow return of any great cat to its old homeland is, in its own quiet way, a soft and very real form of healing for the land itself. The Iberian lynx came back from the very edge of disappearing forever. The Iberian lynx, a beautiful spotted wild cat that lives only in parts of Spain and Portugal, was once one of the most endangered cats in the entire world. By the early years of this century, fewer than 100 of these gentle animals remained in the wild, and many scientists feared they would soon vanish completely. Yet through decades of careful conservation, captive breeding, and the quiet protection of their forest and scrubland habitats, their numbers have slowly begun to recover. Today, more than 1,000 Iberian lynxes once again walk the warm, dry landscapes of southern Europe, hunting rabbits in the long evening light. Their story is not a fairy tale, and there is still much work to do, but it is a quiet reminder that even cats that once stood at the very edge of disappearing can sometimes be gently brought back into the long, slow story of the living world. And as you rest with these stories, there is no need to carry their weight tonight. Let them settle, the way a tired cat settles into the long grass. Take a soft breath. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands fall open. And let these soothing facts for sleep gently hold you a little closer to rest. Big cats sleep more than almost any other large predator on Earth. Among the large predators of the world, big cats are some of the most committed and patient sleepers in the entire animal kingdom. Lions can rest for up to 20 hours each day, lying together in soft golden piles in the shade of acacia trees. Tigers, jaguars, and leopards spend much of every day in long, slow naps high in tree branches or hidden inside cool patches of grass. Even the active, restless cheetah spends many hours simply lying still, watching the world go by from the soft warmth of the open plain in the long afternoon. The reason is simple. Hunting and walking long distances takes a great deal of energy, and these animals carefully balance their bursts of action with very long periods of deep, careful rest. As you settle in tonight in this drowsy discovery of big cats, you are quietly joining one of the longest, oldest, softest sleeping traditions in the entire animal kingdom on Earth. Even the deepest sleep of a great cat is half listening to the world. The sleep of a wild cat is not quite the same as the sleep of a human. Even when a tiger or a leopard appears to be deeply asleep in the warm afternoon shade, parts of its brain remain quietly alert to the world around it. The ears continue to twitch softly toward distant sounds. The body shifts position carefully to stay aware of the wind and the changing temperature of the long, slow night. Researchers studying the sleep of wild predators have found that they often cycle through long, deep stretches of true rest and shorter periods of lighter, half-listening sleep, allowing them to recover their energy while still keeping watch for danger or opportunity nearby in the trees. To imagine a gray cat resting like this tonight is to picture a creature that has perfected the soft, ancient art of letting go without ever fully losing its quiet, attentive thread to the breathing world around it. Big cats often dream, just as we do. Anyone who has ever watched a sleeping cat twitch its paws, flick its tail, or softly murmur in its sleep has glimpsed something deeply familiar in the warm corner of a quiet room. Cats, including all the great cats of the world, experience the same kind of rapid eye movement sleep that humans do, the stage of sleep most closely linked to dreaming. During this part of the long night, their brains show patterns very similar to ours, suggesting they are very likely walking through their own slow, soft dreamscapes. We may never know exactly what a tiger or a snow leopard dreams about, but we can quietly guess that it is probably some soft mixture of long forests, warm rocks, distant prey, and the gentle company of family. Tonight, somewhere in the world, a great cat is dreaming the same way you might soon begin to dream, in soft, drifting images carried slowly across the long, dark hours of sleep. A great cat's purr-like sounds can soothe both itself and its young. The soft, rumbling sounds that big cats make when they are calm carry far more than simple comfort. The deep purrs of pumas and the slow, breathy chuffs of tigers and snow leopards seem to play a quiet role in helping these animals settle themselves and their young into deep, restful states. Mother cats often purr or chuff softly while their cubs nurse, the steady vibration acting almost like a gentle lullaby that helps the cubs relax into peaceful sleep. Even adult cats appear to use these sounds to slow their own breathing, to ease tension after a long day of walking, and to communicate calmness to other members of their close family. The cat family has spent millions of years quietly perfecting the soft sounds of rest, the kind of warm, low rumble that has been gently helping young creatures fall asleep for far longer than humans have lived in any kind of house at all. The sleeping postures of big cats mirror those of every house cat in the world. If you have ever watched a small house cat sleep, you have already seen the soft sleeping postures of every great cat in the world in miniature form on a quiet windowsill. Big cats curl up in tight, warm circles when the air is cool, sleep stretched out long and flat on their sides when the day is warm, and sometimes lie on their backs with their soft bellies exposed when they feel completely safe. Lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, pumas, and snow leopards all share the same quiet vocabulary of resting positions, with the smallest pet kitten quietly breathing on a windowsill tonight in any city of the world. The body of any cat, large or small, has spent millions of years quietly learning the most comfortable shapes for warmth, for safety, and for the slow, deep work of true sleep. Each soft curl is a piece of very old, very gentle wisdom kept alive in the warm fur. And from the soft breath of sleeping cats, our last steps now lead toward the wider world they share with countless other lives, including yours. Big cats rarely see humans as prey. Although the great cats of the world are powerful predators, The truth is that they very rarely see humans as a normal part of their food. Most lions, tigers, leopards, jaguars, pumas, and snow leopards spend their lives carefully avoiding people altogether, slipping quietly away into the trees or rocks at the very first quiet hint of any human presence. The few rare cases where a wild cat does turn to human prey almost always involve animals that are old, injured, or no longer able to hunt their usual food in the wild. To the average great cat, a person is a tall, noisy, slightly confusing, and unfamiliar creature best left alone in the long, soft shadows of the forest. The image of the bloodthirsty hunter, eager to chase any human it sees, belongs more to old stories and dramatic films than to the slow, quiet, patient lives that real big cats actually live across the wild world tonight. The presence of a top predator quietly shapes an entire landscape. Wherever great cats live, the entire landscape around them is quietly shaped by their very presence in ways that are easy to miss from the outside. Their slow, careful patrols help keep populations of grazing animals in healthy balance, which in turn shapes the way grasslands and forests grow. Their kills feed many other creatures, from vultures and jackals to small beetles and the soil itself. Even the simple presence of a top predator nearby quietly changes the behavior of every other animal, encouraging them to move more carefully, to avoid certain places, and to stay alert at certain quiet times of the day. Scientists call this a trophic cascade, the long chain of soft effects that run through an entire ecosystem because of one careful, watchful animal at the very top. To protect a great cat is, in this slow way, to quietly protect a whole, living, breathing landscape behind it. The house cat at the foot of your bed is a distant cousin of every great cat in the world. If a small cat is sleeping somewhere near you tonight, take a quiet moment to remember what it really is. The soft, breathing creature curled at the foot of your bed shares deep family roots with the lion of the African plains, the tiger of the Asian forests, the leopard of the Rocky Hills, the jaguar of the South American river country, and the snow leopard of the high Himalayan mountains. They are all gentle branches of the same long, ancient family tree, stretching back across millions of slow years. Every soft purr you may hear tonight is a quiet echo of the same calm rumble heard somewhere in a warm rock shelter on the other side of the world. To know a small cat is to know, in your own quiet way, a tiny, soft thread of the long, slow, beautiful story of all the great cats that have ever walked the long, breathing earth at any time. Great cats teach us that strength and gentleness can live in the same body. Perhaps the deepest lesson of the great cats is also the simplest one of all. They are some of the most powerful creatures on the entire breathing earth, and yet they spend most of their lives in soft, careful stillness in the warm shade. They can run fast, leap high, and bring down prey many times their own size, and yet they also groom each other slowly, raise their cubs with deep tenderness, and rest for long. Golden hours in quiet shade beneath ancient trees. In the same single body, the great cats hold strength and gentleness, courage and calmness, action and rest, all woven together so naturally that none of these qualities seems to take anything away from the others. To watch a great cat live its slow, full life is to be quietly reminded that it is possible in any creature to be both strong and soft at the same time, on every patient day of every long, quiet, breathing year. To know the great cats is to know how much wildness still walks the earth tonight. As this long sleep documentary about big cats draws gently toward its quiet end, take a soft moment to remember everything that is still alive somewhere in the wide, breathing world tonight. A lioness is settling into the warm, dry grass of an African savanna. A tiger is moving silently through the wet leaves of an Asian forest. A leopard is resting high in the green branches of a tree above a slow brown river. A jaguar is walking softly along the muddy edge of a great green wetland. A puma is climbing a rocky ridge under a high mountain moon. A snow leopard is curling its long tail around itself on an icy cliff under a sky full of cold stars. They are all out there, breathing slowly, quietly carrying the long, soft thread of wildness across this beautiful, patient world. And tonight, you are softly carrying it gently along with them, too. And so our quiet journey through the world of the great cats begins to fade gently into the stillness of the night. From the golden lionesses of the African plains to the striped giants of the Asian forests, from the silent leopards in their dappled trees to the ghost-pale snow leopards of the high mountains. This sleep documentary has carried us through grasslands, rainforests, deserts, and snow. We have listened to the slow breath of the puma in the pines, the chirp of the cheetah on the open plain, and the deep, half-heard rumble of the tiger in the dark. These have been gentle science facts to drift off to, soft footprints left in the long grass of a sleepy science journey. If these soothing facts to fall asleep to brought you any peace tonight, you are warmly invited to follow along and join our small, quiet community of curious sleepers. There are more wonders waiting, more nights, more creatures, more soft corners of the natural world to explore together. Come back when the day grows heavy again, and let another sleep documentary carry you home. Right now, as you rest, the wildness of these great cats still moves somewhere on the surface of the earth. Paws on warm stone, eyes half closed in the moonlight, breath steady in long grass. A small part of that ancient calm is also in you, in the quiet rhythm of your breath, in the soft weight of your own resting body, in the slow, steady drum of your own patient heart. Let your eyes feel their own gentle weight now, and if they wish to close, let them close. Let your shoulders sink a little further into whatever holds you. Let your jaw soften, let your hands rest open. Let your breath slow until it matches the slow, sleepy breath of a great cat lying in the warmth of the late afternoon sun. There is nothing to chase tonight. There is nowhere to be. There is only this quiet body, this quiet breath, this quiet night. Tonight, as you rest, the great cats continue their quiet work in the wild places of the world, padding softly between trees, watching the slow movement of stars, raising their cubs in the warmth of hidden dens, listening to the long breath of the night they share with you. You are a small, warm presence within this vast, living world, peacefully resting among the wonders. Sleep well. Sweet dreams. And may you carry with you the quiet knowledge that wildness and gentleness have always belonged to the same heart. This has been Drowsy Discovery. Good night.